We are very fortunate to have Gail Carpenter here. She's the CFO of Amazon's worldwide stores. I find Amazon one of the most interesting companies to follow. They've become the world's store, very broadly. They're an amazing mixture of technology and business model. Both of those, they go hand in hand. They're a living example of doing that very well. Listen, I want to give you a couple of interesting factoids about the company that hopefully create a common understanding of what they've achieved. On Amazon Prime, when you look at technology and some of the innovation, Amazon Prime launched in 2005. They now have over 200 million users across the world. That offered originally free 2-day shipping. They now have expanded that capability to include streaming and shopping and reading and a variety of other areas. Very recently, Amazon just announced Rufus, which is an AI-based shopping assistant. That's already handled now tens of millions of customer queries, and it's expanded to a variety of their international markets. In September of 2024, so just a few months ago, they launched Project Amelia. This is an AI assistant that provides strategic insights for their third-party sellers. So the sellers can get an overview of their business. They can seek guidance on product categories, advertising strategies, etc. Eventually, it will be able to operate on the seller's behalf, similar to what we heard in the earlier sessions about the capability of agents. Also in October, so just 2-3 months ago, they launched AI shopping guides. That provides generative AI to provide recommendations on products and insights. When you move into the transportation and logistics part of the business, and Gail and I are going to cover all these areas, hopefully in the amount of time that we've got, they have vision-assisted package retrieval. So this is an AI-powered solution that will help the drivers identify what packages to deliver to which location. So basically will speed up the process of delivery. That's going to be rolled out in 1,000 Rivian electric vans this year. They also have opened a new fulfillment center in Shreveport, Louisiana. It provides a state-of-the-art robotics system. It coordinates efforts of thousands of mobile robots and robotic arms, including the first fully autonomous mobile robot. A joint study that was done between MIT and Amazon found that 60% of employees who work with robotics and AI expect positive impacts on their productivity, on their job satisfaction, and on safety. So let me give you a little bit now about Gail herself. She's got an amazing background, CFO of worldwide stores at Amazon. She oversees finance for a range of areas in the company, Amazon's online and mobile shopping experiences worldwide, global operations and fulfillment, Prime, Amazon Grocery, Amazon Business, Selling Partner Services, and Amazon Health Services. She joined Amazon in 2015 to lead finance for the international division and then transitioned to lead worldwide operations finance prior to the role she has now. Prior to Amazon, she worked for Mattel for 17 years, most recently as SVP and CFO of Global Supply Chain. She held roles in the US and abroad, including VP GM for Northern Europe, where she was based in Amsterdam, and also head of finance and supply chain for Mattel's European and Middle East Africa business based in Frankfurt. Most importantly, she's an alum of the school. She's on our board of advisors here. Also, she was on the board of directors of Girl Scouts of the USA in Los Angeles. She's been an advisor to a number of organizations focused on developing emerging talent in business, entrepreneurship, and education. She has a bachelor's degree in business administration with a major in accounting from Texas A&M and an MBA here from UCLA Anderson. So please join me in welcoming Gail Carpenter.
Hey.
Gail, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thanks for having me.
You know, the big challenge of doing a discussion like this is, given the breadth of your experience and breadth of responsibilities, there's about 83 things I'd love to talk to you about, but we don't have the time for all 83. But let me start at the most macro level, because I identified a bunch of areas of innovation that are, you know, for customer facing, ones that are in transportation and logistics. Tell us a bit about, first of all, how do you decide what to do and when?
Yeah, so you know, Amazon's a pretty complex company. I mean, it started off as a bookseller, but we are now in just a variety of different areas. But it's really quite simple. We are completely focused on the customer. We say we're customer obsessed, but we aim to be the most customer-centric company out there. So everything starts with the customer, and then we work backwards. So we identify customer pain points, we engage with the customer, identify pain points, we think about where our expertise might allow us to solve those pain points. And, but we go beyond that. We think about where we're going to invest in a new venture or a new innovation. We ask ourselves a few questions, like, if we were successful, would this be big? And would it have a reasonable financial return, a return on invested capital? Would we have a differentiated approach to whatever the issue is? Is the area being well served today? Do we have competence in that area? And if we don't, could we quickly acquire the competence? And if we like the answers to those questions, we assign a single-threaded leader, so they're not distracted by anything that's going on in the rest of the business, and what we call a two-pizza team to that problem or that idea or that innovation. A two-pizza team at Amazon is technically a team that could be fed dinner with two pizzas. You can make up your mind on how big that team is. I have two sons that are, you know, in the late ages of their teenage years, and I would say at our house that team size is two. But at Amazon, it's a little bit bigger than that. So yeah, we'll assign a team to it. They'll go off. They will have a lot of conversations, and they'll come back with a recommendation. You know, at the end of the day, though, we're very focused on improving the customer experience, driving operational excellence, and creating some long-term value. And that pretty much drives everything at its most basic level at Amazon.
Excellent. So let me tag on to that. So when I look at all the areas that you've innovated in, using technology, now using AI, et cetera, it seems like there's like three big buckets of what you're trying to achieve with technology. One is to help customers in driving revenue of some sort. Mm-hmm. Another one can be reducing costs. And maybe a third one is improving speed of delivery. Mm-hmm. First of all, are those the right three areas when you think of kind of outcomes? And then how do you prioritize which ones you're going to focus on?
Yeah, we like all those. We like growing top line. We like growing bottom line. We like pleasing customers, delivering faster service, more services. And you know, if you go back to where we left the two pizza team and their single-threaded leader, we have a process at Amazon to unearth ideas and to innovate, and it's called the PRFAQ. Press release, frequently asked questions. And this is a mechanism that's been talked about quite a bit about Amazon over the years, but it really works. So anybody can write a PRFAQ, whether you're an associate working in a fulfillment center, whether you're the vice president of finance in the international division, doesn't matter who you are, you can write a PRFAQ. It starts off with this future imagined press release with some future date announcing this innovation, which is, of course, the most fabulous thing that ever happened. It's full of comments from customers who love the product, stakeholders, whoever it is in the company that owns the product. And it basically spells out how it's going to be great for customers. And then it's followed by all of these FAQs that basically act as a bit of a business requirements document. Like in our history, our tech guys will go and build the product based on this PRFAQ. So the good ones, you write it, you start to share it. The good ones find their way, through the organization and ultimately, depending on how big the idea is, to the CEO's conference room. And that's how a lot of our innovations get birthed and launched. So yeah, coming back to the question though, yes, I used to have a boss that said, if you want to know whether you should prioritize growth or profitability, the answer is we carry water on both shoulders. and really that's kind of true. Like and frankly, we find a lot of times these things go together. So, one of the speakers earlier today said scarcity breeds innovation, and I completely believe that. It is so true. So when we're evaluating an idea, we really are looking at, are we making the customer happy? Are they going to like this? Are they going to come back? They're going to do it once and tell their friends because it's just cool. And as we're building it, we're constantly thinking, how can we build this in the most efficient manner? Because if we're able to build an efficient product, it's just going to let us offer up more selection and choices to customers.
Yeah, it's by the way, an interesting commentary about AI, because sometimes I find people will say we're using AI to reduce cost. And it often gets away from the product and the customer, but you don't want to lose the cost piece either. And saying that you've got to do both, I think, is a fascinating one. Gail, I rattled off a variety of kind of these latest announcements that companies made. Which ones are you most excited about and why?
Yeah, this is like asking a kid in the candy store which section they like the most. Like there's a ton of things to really like. I think I'm kind of partial to robotics. And so I would go back to, some of the speakers this morning talked about the intersection of AI and the physical world. And when I look at what our robotics teams are doing, it's just really exciting. So we launched this fulfillment center back in September. It's in Shreveport, Louisiana. And it is the largest integration of AI, robotics, and automation in Amazon's history. It's going to allow us to be faster and more productive. It will allow us to get products and orders to customers faster. It also will create 2,500 jobs in the area in which it sits. And because there are so many advanced technologies present in the building, it will create 30% more technical roles than we've had in our previous fulfillment centers. And one of the reasons I really love robotics is that I feel like it punches above its weight. So yes, it makes us more productive. It makes us faster to get things out to customers, but it also makes us safer because we're really focusing on keeping our workers injury-free. And a lot of times that means keeping them working in their power zone. They're not having to lift heavy things up from the floor over their heads. They can work in their power zone, and the robots do all of the work around the periphery. So, we have reduced our safety incidents by 30% over the last just handful of years. And so the more we can incorporate automation in our fulfillment centers and our delivery stations, the better that gets. And we like that.
Mm-hmm. What about some of the customer-facing solutions, Rufus and others? How do you see success there? Is it driving up average value of what somebody purchases? Is it staying on the site more to make decisions? What do you look at as success there?
Yeah. How many of you, out of curiosity, I have questions for the audience. How many of you have used Rufus? Do you know Rufus? So Rufus, when you open up your Amazon app, there's this little text bubble with these little sparkly things that I guess means intelligent text. And you can ask Rufus anything. Rufus is your personal shopping assistant. You can ask Rufus about an order you want to return. You can get to customer service. You can ask about a birthday gift for your insert noun here. Whatever you're looking for, you can ask Rufus. But from my perspective, the best thing that Rufus does is Rufus will summarize all of those customer reviews. So if you pick a product and you go to the detail page and you click on the stars, where the customer review link is, Rufus will come up and tell you what customers said about the product. And it will give you the criteria, the main criteria that matter for that particular product. And with a little, red, green, yellow emblem icon that tells you whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. And you can click on it and go dive deep. If what you really care about in the product is quality, click on quality. You can go read the specific customer reviews from that. But Rufus just makes your life easier. It increases your efficiency. And yeah, I'm a huge Rufus fan, as you can tell. But we didn't stop at Rufus. Like we are using AI not only to help customers, but also to help sellers. So as an example, I kind of dig this example. So in the before years, if you're a seller on Amazon, you have to create a detail page. So you want to sell this table. You've got to go in there. You've got to come up with a title. And you've probably seen on Amazon, some titles are better than others. They're not all created equal. You've got to come up with a title. You've got to create all of your description, all of the information. There's a whole bunch of stuff we want you to fill out because we want it to be a really quality description so that customers buy it, they know what they're getting, they don't return it, et cetera. Well, now you can just upload a picture and we will generate a detail page for you. We'll generate the title, we'll generate the description, we'll generate everything that we think the detail page needs. And then you can decide whether you like it. You can edit any of it, you can edit none of it, you can do whatever you want with it, but it's there. So we've had sellers tell us, hey, you're saving me money because I used to have a copywriter on staff and now I don't anymore. This is, it's way less painful. My cash flow is better because I can actually get up and running on the site super fast whenever I introduce a new product. And we like new products because we like new selection. And then of course, there are all the ways that you can imagine: customer service, seller support, fraud and abuse detection using AI real time to discover fraud and abuse and protect customers as well as our store. So lots of different uses.
Cases.
Yeah.
Good. Let's talk now about transportation and logistics. So we're going through a variety of these categories. Where do you see opportunities there with technology? We talked a little bit about the new Rivian van and the ability. Say more about last mile delivery.
Yeah, I feel like the opportunities are endless. So we'll talk about a couple. Let's start with the driver experience. So routing. Routing seems easy, right? We all use routing. We go on Google, we say, hey, we want to go to this address. It tells us how to get there. It's not that hard, right? Okay, well, it's not that hard until you start to introduce customer orders. Customers from different places are ordering different things every day. They order something different. Some days it's a big thing. Some days it's a little thing. If somebody in a particular neighborhood, lots of folks order really big things, the delivery van isn't big enough to get it all in. So there are all these different data points that you've got to think about when you try to create a route. So we've been using AI. I mean, honestly, Amazon's been using AI for over 2 decades. So, we're not new to the AI game. But we have seen over the last 2 years, we've increased our GPS accuracy by 2.5 times. So some of the speakers this morning were talking about just the rate of acceleration of improvements, and it is real. So we are able now to create delivery routes that are more efficient. They're also safer. So we're using data on, for example, intersections that are more prone to accidents. We avoid those. We look at the difficulty of the route, whether it's difficult because of the traffic congestion or hard to find addresses. And all of those things are improved upon and taken into account when we are coming up with our routes. So So delivery experience, lots of opportunity there. The second one was what you mentioned earlier. We call it Vapor. It is visually assisted package retrieval, I think. We're really big on acronyms. When I joined the company, there was this wiki, and folks said on my onboarding, we use a lot of acronyms, but don't worry. There's a wiki, and just go to it, plug in your acronym, and it'll come up and tell you. Well, here's the deal. When I joined, there were 86 pages of acronyms. And I discovered that some of the acronyms are reused in different teams. So you might put in CAP and get like 17 CAPs, and you're like, okay, well, which one do I pick? I hired someone probably, a year or two later. I gave him the same advice, but the 86 pages were up to 115 pages. And that was probably 8 years ago. So I don't know any Amazonians in the audience. If you've looked at, anybody know how many pages of acronyms there are now? Anyway, back to Vapor. Vapor's cool. So Vapor is a great example of, how innovation is also taking an old idea but using it slightly differently. Well, Vapor actually came from our fulfillment centers. It's a technology that eliminates the need to use a scanner. So it's a machine learning tool that we trained on how to recognize different barcodes in different lighting, with different lighting. And so we took this, we blended it with the vehicle's, integrated it with the vehicle's navigation system. And when the driver drives up to your house and gets out of his seat to walk back into the back of the van has this one green circle pointing at your package, and every other package in the van has a red X on it. So the likelihood that you're going to open your front door and get your neighbor's package, very low. And the driver didn't have to do a lot of work searching through, probably in a bad ergonomic position, searching through all the packages in the back of the van to find the one that the driver was actually looking for. So we have improved, we've taken 30 minutes on average off the routes that are done in Vapor delivery vans and improved, I think 67% of the productivity has improved just by the drivers not having to think about it. They don't have to think about which package, they don't have to search for it. It's just right there. Better customer experience, better driver experience, better economics. So that's an area or an example of, we often find that customer pleasers and good economics go hand in hand.
Good. So let's dive deeper on that. This is the mental software of how you make decisions. I always think the CFO has got to manage this balancing act of lots of requests. You've got to think about how you're prioritizing use of capital, and you've got to think about what's the model and the enablers that's going to allow for success. Tell us how you think about, first of all, when you hear all these new ideas, what are the enablers that you look for that say this is likely to be good? Is it density of users? Is it over volume of users? And then in turn, what metrics do you use up front to make a decision? And then once you've implemented all these great ideas, how do you measure success going forward?
Yeah, good question. So volume is almost always your friend. So, right off the top, it's like, okay, how big can this be? Because if you've got volume, you can take your fixed cost and spread it over lots of units. We do a lot of per unit economics. So what does it cost us per unit to serve this neighborhood, this kind of customer, this kind of product? So volume is almost always your friend, and density is also awesome. So density could be how many units do we get in a box? How many packages per stop? How many stops per route? So the more dense we can make an event, and the more volume that an innovation can generate, the better. And so, we ask ourselves from a finance perspective, we ask a couple of questions. Number one, what's the capability? Like, what's the reward if we invest this money? And number two, what's the long-term financial impact? Amazon is an extremely long-term thinking company. We are willing to forego some return on the front end if we're doing something that we truly believe the customer is going to love. And so a lot of the stuff that we do is indeed front end loaded. So whether you're building a fulfillment center, that's a 2 to 3 year adventure. Delivery stations, about a year and a half. Even building AI models, you've got to put forth the cash up front to build it before you reap the rewards. So we look at on individual assets, we look at net present value, we look at payback period. We also look over the longer term at return on invested capital, because that's going to change. You know, our CapEx, capital investments, can be a little lumpy. One year you might invest a whole lot, and then the next year you might invest less. It just depends on your appetite and the timing of how all of these assets are coming to fruition. So we like to look at ROIC across the whole business over a few years, just to make sure we like the trend. Now, once we get things going, I mean, we're all about data. So everything we do starts with metrics. What do we expect the metrics to be? And we're big on inputs. So we believe if you've got the right input metrics, the output will take care of itself. And so we're very focused on our input metrics, and we are big on experimentation. If, you know, we'll roll something out, and sometimes we roll it out differently in different places. We do some tests. We see what works. What are the customers like? At the end of the day, it always comes back to the customer. What is working? What's not working? The stuff that's not working, if we're not meeting the metric threshold that we thought we would, then we start to iterate and we adapt and we play with it. And over a period of time, if we discover that it just isn't what we thought it was, I will say one of the things about innovation and being willing to innovate is the acceptance of failure. And, you know, Jeff Bezos used to have a saying, if you're not failing, you're not thinking big enough. You're not innovating enough. And so we will track these metrics and we'll give it a certain amount of time. And if by the time we get to that threshold, it's not meeting our threshold metrics, we move on. So we'll pull the plug, shut it down, and move on. So we like to say we try to fail fast. You know, as soon as you know it's not going to work, get out so you can take those resources and apply them to a new PRFAQ with a new pizza team and single-threaded leader.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
We're going to go to questions in a few minutes. So go to slido.com and the event code is Easton3, the number 3, Easton3. So let me tag on to the latest thing you just said, investments in AI. You know, there's a lot of stuff in the news about AI. Some companies are getting criticized because they're investing too much too early. Others are being told, especially from the technology world, there's a first mover advantage to being in AI. How do you think about investment in technology? Does it have a different parameter on it because it's maybe higher risk, higher reward?
You know, we're very much into practical AI. So we don't just innovate for the sake of innovating, we innovate for customers. And so when we're investing in AI, we are looking at what it's doing for our customer and for our employees, frankly, and our sellers. Is it making us more productive and efficient? Is it providing a new service that customers are going to love? And so we use that as the basis of, okay, is this something that we think we want to invest in or not? You know, if I go back to the fulfillment center example from earlier, I'll give you an example of some of the AI we've done that's been very practical. So the fulfillment center has a robotic arm named Robin the robotic arm, and Robin will pick up a package and take it and put it into a tote that then the robots that look like these little sort of Roomba guys, they will pick up these pods full of totes and they'll take it to the next station or the next place that the product needs to go in order to get packed up and go out to the customer. This robotic arm is the intersection of AI and the physical world. And, you know, I'm not an engineer, although I am married to one, but talking to these guys when they were developing Robin was really interesting because they had to develop a technology that had the strength to pick up a box of dumbbells, but also had the sensitivity to pick up a bag of potato chips and not crush the potato chips. And that's not easy. It took a lot of iterating to figure out how do we build an arm that can do that. And then once you build it, then you have to start thinking about your bill of materials and how do you actually make it more affordable? Because sure, you can build it for millions of dollars, but you can't afford to actually, use it. So super interesting. Another area of AI that's very practical is inventory. So lots of different ways we're using AI in inventory. One of them is identifying damaged inventory. We don't want to send you damaged inventory. So we use AI to actually separate out the inventory that is damaged. We also use AI to predict what it is you're going to buy. So we can place that inventory closer to you, and that makes us faster. But we'll use AI to predict what products you're going to want to buy, and we buy the inventory. We use AI to look at potential defects in our inventory processes, to identify patterns, to even now predict where we're going to have a defect based on the patterns that we're seeing. And AI is now telling us, offering suggestions on what we can go do to fix the defect even sometimes before it happens. So super interesting AI practical applications in inventory. And then the third one I will share is on fleet management. So we have over 750,000 robots. They're mostly these little sort of Roomba robots that pick up the pods full of products and take them to the associates. And these robots are, driving all around the floor in the warehouse where we store all the product. And they've historically run on, tracks, like magnetic tracks. But the new generation of robots, which we call Proteus, does not run on a track. They're autonomous. They can go anywhere they want on the floor of the warehouse. And we use AI to make sure they are moving in the most efficient manner, because that allows us, one, to avoid traffic jams. It's an ugly thing to see robots in a traffic jam. But it also allows us to free up space so we can store more product, and then we don't have to build another fulfillment center quite as quickly. And that's good for our financials.
Excellent, excellent. Gail, when you see discontinuities, all of a sudden there are kind of new customer trends, technology changes. You've had to respond, Amazon One Medical Group, when you started bundling at Prime. These are kind of more major changes. Mm-hmm. How do you think about either, adopting those or not, deciding when the right time is? Tell us how you deal with those.
Yeah, it all comes back to the customer. So we're talking to customers, we're listening to customers, and again, we're thinking long-term. So I'll take Prime as an example. When Amazon first rolled out, we're very transactional. You order a product, we ship it to you. You pay a shipping fee, you pay us for the product, the transaction is done, everyone's happy, hopefully, and we move on. Well, in 2005, we decided to roll out this Prime subscription model where you would get free shipping. You would get free shipping. Now, if it were up to the financial people in the company, this did not model out. The numbers were not there. And the finance folks were saying, oh my gosh, what are we doing? And Jeff B was like, what customer is not going to love free shipping? Like, customers are going to love this. This is going to be a great long-term play for us. So we rolled out the Prime subscription model, and sure enough, it's been really great. But I think a related answer to that is that we're just willing to experiment. So take grocery. Customers spend a good portion of our money on grocery. So how can we make it more convenient for customers to buy groceries? So in 2017, Amazon acquired Whole Foods. Anybody Whole Foods here? Love Whole Foods. Now, okay, so here's the real question. Are you ready? You have to put on your cloak of honesty. How many of you go to Whole Foods to get like the organic stuff, and then you go somewhere else to get, in my case, Cheetos. Yeah. Yeah. So here are some of the things that we're doing to try to make it easy for customers like me who can't just go to Whole Foods and be satisfied. I have to have Cheetos. So a few things. We opened up a Whole Foods market in Chicago recently that is on the second story, and there's an escalator that goes up to Whole Foods, but on the way down just below Whole Foods, there's an Amazon Fresh grocery store. Amazon Fresh is Amazon's mass market grocery store, like a Vons or a Kroger or a Ralph's. And so you can go to Whole Foods, you have to park, take the escalator up to Whole Foods, get all your organics, take the escalator back down to your car, stop by Amazon Fresh, pick up your Cheetos, your Pepsi, your Tide, whatever it is that you can't get at Whole Foods, but you really need, and go. So one stop, you get everything you need. You can also, you may not even know this, you can order groceries, order your Cheetos online and pick them up at your Whole Foods store. One stop. So we're constantly iterating, like, okay, here's a customer pain point. Well, how could we do this differently? Healthcare is another one. So again, getting back to the very beginning of this talk where I talked about how we like to identify customer pain points and then figure out, okay, how can we maybe do this better? So we acquired a company called PillPack a few years ago, and it started our foray into pharmacy. So anybody in here ever used Amazon Pharmacy? Okay, one of the most convenient things that's come along. So Amazon Pharmacy is like having a pharmacist available 24/7 in your pocket. So you can go to the doctor, what the doctor says, what pharmacy do you use? Amazon Pharmacy. The doctor will send Amazon Pharmacy the prescription. You will immediately get a text. We've received this prescription from your doctor, even while you're still sitting in the doctor's office. And it will direct you on what to do. And it's typically, you can go online, you can check the prices. So we're very much into price transparency. And we have our own prices, and we also will show you the insurance price. Sometimes our price is less expensive than the insurance price. Sometimes it isn't. You get to choose. And then we'll go through the steps. We'll ask you to approve. Yes, I want to purchase this. You purchase it, and then we'll ship it to your home. Right now, 20% of the United States is within a one-day delivery of Amazon Pharmacy. So I have literally gone to the doctor during the day and come home and had my prescription at my house. I didn't have to stand in line in a pharmacy. I didn't have to share personal information with all kinds of people standing around me. So it's just super convenient. And there's several different pricing programs. There's a $5 a month thing for generic drugs on about 50 different drugs. There's discounts for Prime members. There's if you're buying a branded drug, we will automatically apply a manufacturer's coupon to it, so you don't have to worry about it. Again, trying to figure out how do we make it easy for customers. Mm-hmm. The other thing is One Medical. So in 2023, we bought a company called One Medical, and it is a very customer-centric approach to primary care. And we have two models, basically, getting back to your model question. There's a membership model. You pay, I think it's $99 a year, although I think it's on special for $69. Not sure if that's still going. But you pay a membership fee, and you have access to a primary care physician. You can book an appointment typically within 1 or 2 days, which is pretty hard to do these days in healthcare. And the time that we allot for doctors to spend with patients is quite generous. So it's like, I kind of think about it as concierge light. I don't know if that's the right way to think about it, but it's a pretty cool service. We also have a pay per visit model. So it's something like, $29 for a chat. You can chat with a medical professional about whatever the issue is you have. Or I'm not sure, $49 maybe for a video conference with a doctor. So So, we live in Seattle. I have a son who goes to school in California. He's a one medical patient, and he can go to the doctor in San Francisco. He can go to the doctor in Seattle. He has care no matter where he is. And so it's just a super customer-friendly way to do healthcare.
Excellent. Let me ask you one last question before we go to the audience questions. Amazon is the largest employer of our students at Anderson. You have a very interesting model for how you look at problems, PRFAQs, and a fairly analytic approach. Tell us what you think the requirements are for MBAs here. What skills do they need to have? Style do they need to have? And is that changing in an environment of AI?
Yeah, it's a good question. Let's see. I think I would say when it comes to AI, that there are two things that I would say. The first is be comfortable using it and understanding how you can use it to leverage your effectiveness. So, the speakers this morning talked about augmenting your performance. So be on the lookout for how you can use it to help yourself. The latest thing for me is we have a pretty robust performance review process at Amazon where we have to give feedback to all of our peers, folks above us, folks below us. It's every year we do sort of a 360 process. And coming up with, it's really like one or two sentences, but like, what's your superpower? What's the superpower of this peer? Well, gosh, there's lots of it. I've discovered I can say everything I want to say about my peer into our internal AI machine, and it will spit out. I'll ask it for like one sentence that encapsulates this, spitting out some pretty darn good sentences. So I don't have to accept them. I can look at them and I can tweak them. I can say, oh, this is great, or I don't really like this. But know how to use AI. And at a company like Amazon, be on the lookout for tools we can build. Where are there uses for AI that there is no AI? Because we'll go build it. We're a bunch of builders. So that's what I would say about AI. As far as Amazon in general, if I think about the folks that are really successful at Amazon, we have 16 leadership principles, and we live and die by the leadership principles. We talk about them all the time. We use them to solve problems. We talk about them when we hire people, when we rate people. They're a common language across the entire company. They enable us to talk to folks in different divisions, different areas about the same things. So things like earns trust, hire and develop the best, insist on highest standards, frugality. So I would say if anyone out there is interested in going to work for Amazon, study the leadership principles, because the folks at Amazon that are most successful really embody those leadership principles. Be really fingertippy with examples of where you have lived those leadership principles when you go into an interview at Amazon. And beyond that, I would say you've got to have good technical skills, and I mean really basic skills like Excel. Like, that's really pretty basic, but it's table stakes. And then have the capacity to learn more, because there'll be a lot of things at Amazon that you'll want to learn. You just have to have a learning mindset, which I would say is the second big thing. Learn and be curious is one of our leadership principles, and it's super important. Things are changing so fast, as we all know, that without a learning mindset, you will be left behind at, pretty much anywhere these days, but especially at a company like Amazon. The third thing I would say is good communication skills, because we do everything in written documents. We don't use PowerPoint. So my day is like a constant meeting after meeting of Harvard Business Review cases. These teams that are reporting in, whether they're doing a quarterly business review or they are selling an idea or giving us an update on an investment that we've made and how is that coming along, they're all written like business cases. Like, here's what's going on. They've got, a nice little financial appendix with all sorts of tables and numbers. And if you're not a good writer, those meetings can be brutal. Like the difference between a meeting with a good document and a bad document is startling. The bad documents, you spend half the meeting just trying to understand what the team was trying to say. Okay, you wrote this. What did you mean exactly? As opposed to a well-written document where you can just dive right into the big decision points. You can have really robust conversations about what really matters. So I would say writing skills are huge. And then, the last thing is, and some of the speakers this morning also touched on this, and that's the soft skills. Like, be aware of folks around you, be aware of, and having the communication skills to be able to take really complex topics and communicate them in an understandable way to audiences of different stakeholders, different countries, different perspectives. Being able to do that well and build relationships will always serve you well.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking earlier, you mentioned Amazon doesn't like adjectives. They like precise messages, and that's what you're talking about. A bunch of questions, a lot of questions here. Let me aggregate them in 2 or 3 categories here. One of them, given Amazon's vast marketplace in financial operations, how does the company leverage AI to detect and prevent fraudulent activity?
Yeah, we have a lot. We have a lot going on fraud and abuse. Whether it's there are bad actors everywhere, which is kind of hard for me because I tend to be an optimist. But whether it's there are customer things going on, bad actor customers, there are bad actor sellers on the side, and then we have to be able to go in and identify those and then protect the customer and make sure the customer is whole. At the end of the day, we want to make sure the customer experience is the best that it possibly can be. We actually have a counterfeit crimes unit at Amazon that works with police, police departments and the FBI. We've invested literally billions of dollars in safety to protect our customers. It's huge on our list. And, like everything else, AI has enabled us to go faster. Of course, it's also enabled the bad guys to go faster. But, it is a top priority and something that we spend a lot of time and resources on.
Excellent. Another question, how does Amazon plan to integrate AI-driven insights into its financial strategies to achieve sustainability goals without compromising shareholder value?
Yeah. We've been using AI in finance for over a decade, and it started with predictive modeling of our top line in our larger countries out several years. And this was 10 years ago. And we're now looking at forecasting every line of our P&L out multiple periods, so like out 4 to 5 years. And what that does is it enables us to look at those trends and decide if we like them or not. And if we don't, we can start today to innovate, to figure out what needs to be done in order to get onto the right track. Where do we see potentially falling off the metrics, someplace that we don't want to, and what do we need to do today with our business partners to change that trajectory? And again, it harkens back to the technology itself isn't the answer, but it is going to make you way more efficient. And it's a great discussion starter to sit down and have discussions with your business partners on strategy and how you can collaborate across multiple areas in order to deliver the results that you want.
Good. Let me pose the last question and we'll do a wrap up here. You mentioned many times about the importance of a deep focus on the customer. A lot of the work on disruptive innovation says sometimes you shouldn't talk to your customers because they don't necessarily know what they don't know, and or there may be unserved customers altogether. Southwest Airlines, when it first came out. How do you balance kind of this deep customer focus with also knowing where there may need to be a disruptive solution altogether?
Well, I think it comes back to pain points. A lot of times people don't know exactly what they want, but they know that what they have isn't very satisfying. And we all know that. I mean, when you think about your own world, I'm sure there's some things in your world that you really love and you would hate if it went away. And there are other things in your world that you're like, I really don't like to do this. It takes too long. I don't enjoy it. And those are the areas where we try to focus. So yes, we talk to customers and we listen to customers, and we go farther than that. We think about and we listen to what's going on in the ether and think about, okay, how can we really solve a problem here? How can we do something that makes it better for customers? And that's where we really focus on innovating.
Excellent. Gail, I always like to share my so whats and give you an opportunity to upgrade them. These are my takeaways.
Okay.
And if you don't have any upgrades, then any parting comments you've got.
Okay.
So I have 4 general so whats here. Number 1, Amazon is using a very broad base of technologies. And we talk about AI, but you also mentioned, in addition to AI, image recognition. You talked about connected devices, so vehicles, et cetera. You talked about robotics. And you basically implied cloud computing, which kind of powers a lot of this. That's the first takeaway, is there's a fairly broad-based use of technology. The second is the technology is being used for 3 key stakeholders. We tend to just think of customers, but it's customers, it's your third-party sellers, and it's your workers, employees of all types. Third message is you have a very defined operating and business model. I find it really fascinating with Amazon. It's kind of this mixture of tech with a very defined model. And you shared several of kind of the mindset issues here. No binary thinking. Volume is your friend. You talked about using PR FAQs to drive this kind of what are we trying to achieve and back into it. But that's a very important part of the success of the company going forward. And then the fourth and final message, which primarily is for our students and broader messages about the importance of knowing how to use AI, because it's being expected more and more, to understand the leadership principles. And for an organization as large as Amazon, it's amazing how everybody knows the leadership principles and has to execute on it. That ability to be good in writing so that you can be precise and clear in that environment, and to think about how you work with others. Those are the 4 areas of takeaway. Upgrades on that?
I would say if you were an AI machine that you did really pretty well.
The bar keeps rising, so I got to keep getting good because my job's going to go away.
I'd give it an A. I don't know. It's a 4.0.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. You know, I think that I really do believe we are in the world at a really exciting time. You know, I think that AI is it's a game changer, unlike anything that we've seen since the internet. And so I would say, you know, just be lifelong learners. And, you know, there are no shortcuts in life, even though AI feels like a little bit of a shortcut. You got to put in the time and the effort, but you can achieve anything. You can achieve anything you want to. So, and I think AI actually gives us another tool to be able to do that.
Yeah. Let me share a few thank yous in closing. I want to first and importantly thank Gail. It's interesting when you listen to somebody cover the breadth and depth of topics. It's just amazing. I think you're a role model for what you've described for Amazon. It's a very large business and a lot of different services that you have to perform well. They're fairly competitive businesses, and you better have a keen eye on the customer and what you're trying to deliver. So I want to first just thank you for your insights. I was going to ask you, what is your secret sauce? You already made it clear. Your ability to process things, communicate, and really think about the audience in front of you. So a big thank you for you being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me just say in closing a couple of overarching so whats for today, because I think there's some very interesting themes that I know that I'm going to be taking away here. Product capability driven by AI and technology is going up a lot. For those of you that I've had in class, we talk about big bang disruptions. Products that are not just lower cost, but they're higher performance and lower cost. Almost all of our speakers talked about personalization and customization. They talked about broader accessibility, and they talked about actually ease of transaction, ease of use. And this is kind of saying on multiple dimensions, a lot of incredible capabilities. Second main message is adoption. Adoption is high across many, many categories. I always look at it as a litmus test. People say, well, people that talk about tech, it's always hyperbole and this and that. You want to reconcile it against, is it being adopted? The number of use cases we talked about today was quite notable. In almost every sector, in almost every job, the use cases and adoption is quite notable. Third and final general message, and Gail covered this as well, the future of work. This broad idea that jobs are going to be changing. And matter of fact, I've got a to-do note to talk to Tony about this, about some next level of work at the school and as we do lifelong learning and other things. But the nature of work is changing, which is going to affect companies of all types. It's also going to affect all of us as individuals. And if we use AI well, it creates better productivity and better outcomes. But we also have to be cognizant that a digital divide will show up if that doesn't get managed well. So those are my 3 takeaways. I wanted to thank a lot of people here, but I want to thank our speakers, including Gail, and the moderators that created a very insightful set of insights here. So thank you to all of you.